Hey, it's Mustang Stampede. I'm out in the C8. The weather is still super crappy where I live, so I figured I'm going to try and do this video while I'm driving to dinner. I'll be taking a lot of back roads to dinner anyway because traffic's pretty bad, so I figured I'd have the ability to film this. This doesn't really have headrest like you would think to mount my GoPro on in between my headrests like in my Mustang or other vehicles that I've done videos in. But anyway, it's a 2022 2LT Z51 convertible. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what dealership I used and the journey that went into the process of buying a Corvette from a dealer retail unit, setting on the lot. They're making orders, they're coming in, I purchased one. All right, so I'll just cover the sticker. The sticker's in the trunk. I'm actually getting the window sticker laminated tonight at Staples after dinner. But the MSRP was $93,320. If you take the options on this car and go plug them in for the 2022 configurator before it changes, you'll see that it's $93,320. Again, Z51, it's a 2LT. We have the adrenaline red interior, adrenaline red seat belt. I don't know, it's a little hard to see. Adrenaline red seat belt. We have carbon fiber interior pieces that are on freaking constraint now. It is a front lift. Middle button right there is my front lift. It is also mag rod. What else does it have? It has the full stripe package. It has the black nacelles only. It has black mirrors and the black Z51 wing, which you can't really see through the mirror. But anyway, with that being said, my MSRP was $93,320. All right, that included just the stock silver wheels and tires. So this journey starts with me making some calls because the hype around the Z06 started to get released. I'd been following that flat plane crank motor because I'm a Mustang fan, and you know Ford has a 5.2 flat plane crank. So then I eventually saw someone have a coupe Z51, I don't know which year, 2020, 2021, at one of the local hotels, and I haven't really seen a lot of these. And I've been wanting to sell my 2016 Subaru WRX because of COVID, and I hadn't really been driving it. So I did sell my Subaru, my 2016 Subaru WRX. I bought that car in 2015 on Veterans Day, as I'm a veteran, and then I paid about $28,000 for that car. I sold it to Carvana for $21,264, and it had 59, almost 60,000 miles. We'll just call it 60,000 miles because it has almost 60,000 miles. It was a premium, so those are a little nicer, but you can't rent that car for like $6,000 to 2022 to 2015. I mean, it's like, that's an insane amount of money to me for the used car. So, and I'm not with all these dealers marking up the Corvettes either. I think it's kind of a crummy practice. And there's lots of arguments for and against that practice, right? You know, we see it in the real estate market because I also do real estate stuff. So, you know, we want top dollar for our houses or whatever that may be. And, you know, so I get that business side. But the dealers have an agreement with just not customers and GM, you know what I mean, or Hyundai. The dealers, like, you know, you have this working relationship. So anyway, back to the main point here. So I got rid of the WRX, started making phone calls, trying to get on a list for, you know, a Corvette. I would have preferred to be on a list for a Z06, but I also don't want to wait, you know, maybe 2 or 3 years or longer, depending on which dealership you put a deposit in. So because I'm from the rural area, I immediately called all the smaller dealerships hoping to see if they had an allocation or could get granted an allocation, and most of them are truck dealers. They're not really interested in that. Some of them would. So I kept calling around, and I finally, obviously the big dealerships was ready to take my deposit and put me on a list. They were about 12 months out. And again, I was okay with waiting 12 months. But I finally found a dealership closer to me. I was going to select museum delivery anyway, so it wasn't really a big deal with which dealership I went with. So I finally found a dealership closer to me with a deposit of $1,000. He said, you'll be 33rd in 2023. I was like, okay, no sweat. So the wait begins. I send him over my credit card. He swipes it up for 1,000 bones, and the wait begins. In the meantime, I'm still calling dealerships all the time, right? Still calling dealerships, making contact, telling them like, hey, if someone's going to back out of a Corvette or you're getting some units in, like, let me know. I'm not a fan of markups, but, I guess it just depends on what the build is. In comes Kyle Lovette from Buford, Georgia. I believe my first contact was with Kyle was through email. And the email started to kind of go south, and it wasn't a really productive conversation as we more or less jockeyed about MSRPs and doing the right thing or whatever. Like, and none of this is Kyle's fault, right? So anyway, finally, he obviously took me seriously in my search for a Corvette, and as you can tell, I was serious because I've bought one. So after the emails are not super productive, he's like, hey, let's just talk on the phone. Let's see what's going on, what you want, where you at. So I sent him my configurator build, said this is what I'm looking for. But I also like red because I've always owned a red car. I've owned a red car for over 22 years. My first Mustang was red. My second Mustang is red. My WRX was red. We had a red Explorer, and now I have a red Corvette. I didn't want red, but I do also like the red. But again, you're going to have to take and compromise if you're not wanting to wait. My wait was 3 months. Or I'm sorry, excuse me, not 3 months. My wait was 3 weeks. From the time I started talking to dealerships till I actually went and purchased one was 3 weeks. Okay, so with that in mind, Kyle and me talk on the phone, and we find out we have a little bit of things in common. And that phone call was a little more productive, but still kind of like on the fence. Like, I'm not happy with the markups. He's trying to show me that he can add value to any kind of markup via ceramic coating, free oil changes. What else? I think they did extended warranty for somebody else. So he was just letting me know, like, there is the possibility to strike a deal. Well, he sent me some over, and they weren't necessarily exactly what I would choose in a build, because I wanted to make sure I had almost everything that I would pick in my build. Front lift, mag ride, carbon interior, high wing. I didn't get a high wing, but that's okay. Again, you're going to have to compromise if you don't want to wait. So he sent me over some builds that were coming in. These are dealer builds, they're retail units, whatever. The plan is that, obviously they're marking them up, but they are adding in additional value to justify the markup. But me being a car guy, I know the cost of ceramic coating, I know the cost of window tinting, and things of that nature. So for me, that might not be the best deal for me, right? So he sent me over 3 or 4 that were in transit, and I said, hey, these sound good, but the price doesn't seem right for me. I think the market is going to change at some point. I just don't know when, and since I'm already on a build list for the 33rd 2023 for my dealer, I'm okay with that, right? So I'm going to keep waiting. Well, I messaged him again after I'd called more dealerships. I've seen some markups as high as freaking $40,000. So, a week or two goes by, and I'm still calling dealerships every time I see new ones. I was on Car Trader or Auto Trader almost every night looking at which dealers had units in transit, and then I would call them and make contact and see where they are. So by the time I talked to him again, some dealers were calling me and saying, hey, this person backed out, let me send you this, are you interested? I would say, well, I might be interested, but what's the price? And again, 15 to 20,000 over is pretty much par for the course. So I'm like, no, I'll just pass because it's, that's not even a Z51, or that's not a convertible, or it's lacking mag ride, or whatever the case may be. It's not for me. So, all right, so I guess my phone only takes 10 minutes at a time. So as I was saying, I would say that it's not for me. So then I reached back out to Kyle Lovette. I'm like, hey, do you got some more units coming in? And he sent me some more items, or more vets, I should say. I'm like, hey, like, I'm interested in this. Let's try to work out a price. So needless to say, he said, here's our plan for that. It's unspoken for at this time. You're the first one that I'm talking to about it. It's going to land any day now from the factory. You have first dibs at it because I'm speaking to you or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So let's talk about it. He said, well, our plan is, with this car, we have a set of black Trident wheels that are in the parts store, and those wheels are going to go on this car. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're thinking 10,000 markup, I want the wheels, the Trident wheels put on the car. I want the original wheels that came with the car. And then I also want the ceramic coating and window tint. And the GM basically told him, no, that's not going to work for us. If we're selling that car, it's only going to be with the black Trident wheels. No other additional items. And for me, 10K over, that would put us at, like, I don't know, after you add mount and balance and all that stuff, it's not equaling $10,000 worth of value to me. So we just kind of talk. I was like, but let me talk to my wife. Let me see where we're at on this and see what we're thinking, and we'll go from there. So I was like, just give me the weekend to talk to my wife about this. So we kind of went over it, and we're thinking like, no, this ain't right for us. And the thought comes up in my head, like, maybe I should just throw out my deal, my offer, and see what if they'll take it, because literally I already know that they won't ceramic coat it or window tint it if those wheels are involved, but I like the black Trident wheels. She's like, okay, well, if that happens, like, we can try that and we'll see if they'll say yes. And I told her, basically my deal is the car, I'll basically pay $5,000 over MSRP, but it has to include the Trident wheels, and it has to include the silver wheels. That originally came with the car, with the thought is that I would, hopefully maybe I can offload the silver wheels, because those are also nice. So anyway, I was like, okay, well, I'll call him back. So I called him back, said, hey, Kyle, here's the deal. I will buy that car for $5,000 over MSRP, not a penny more. And basically I want those wheels, the black Trident wheels, and then I want the silver wheels that come with it. So I was like, you guys don't ceramic coat it, you don't window tint it, you don't do anything else to it. That's it. That's the deal. So he's like, let me get with my GM. I'll get back to you, and we'll go from there. So he called me back about 30 minutes later. He's like, hey, we have a deal. So now I'll go into some of the numbers. The thing is, you're going to say, well, oh my God, you paid $5,000 over MSRP. Actually, on my finance paperwork, my purchase price for this vehicle was MSRP. The wheels, the black Trident wheels, were listed at $5,000. But that did not include the black lug nuts, the black locking kit, mounting and balancing of 4 tires onto the Trident wheels, and then I also got to keep the silver wheels that the car originally had on it, right? So if I just am able to even get $1,000, and I might not get $1,000, it doesn't even really matter to me, on silver wheels, I would be setting around $300 something over MSRP, maybe less, because when I originally wrote down all my numbers with the cost for the Corvette black lug nuts, the Corvette black locking kit lugs, the mounting and balancing of the tires onto the black Tridents, I didn't even really consider that into cost. So I may actually, after it's all said and done, maybe $200 or $300 over MSRP if I can sell those wheels. So the end story to this is basically, I was patient, I kept waiting, I kept reaching out to dealers, and eventually I struck a deal with Kyle at Rick Hendrick in Buford, Georgia. Mainly because I saw the value of the black Trident wheels. I didn't see value of it at being at Sorry, excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied. I didn't see the value of the black Trident wheels at $5,000, but to be able to say, hey, you know, the black Trident wheels are $2,995 if you order a car, okay, and not even thinking that, you know, oh yeah, you would need black lug nuts with that and everything. So basically they had everything. Now, here's the kicker. The black Tridents came with the Jake caps, the Jake logo center caps. I think those are a $240 option as well. If you want the Jake, I'm sure you can buy them cheaper from other sources than GM, but basically if you're going to order your car, you're going to pay that 240 bones for those Jake center caps, I believe, which for me, to like, the center cap thing is crazy for Corvettes. Like, I couldn't imagine paying that kind of money. I mean, although I did, it's just odd to me that you know, those little pieces are that expensive. So anyway, yeah, that's how I got a great deal on my Corvette. I was patient. I didn't want to wait, but I also refused to pay a crazy markup. To me, when you start talking to a dealer and they're telling you that inside the markup that they will do the ceramic coating, window tint, maybe throw in free oil changes if you're local, and or do some kind of extended warranty, that kind of eats up that cost, right? So, you know, and I looked over my finance paper with a very fine-tooth comb. I told them, hey, I'm driving a good ways away, so I don't want no shenanigans when I show up, because you're going to find one angry person if I drive all the way down there to get this car and you guys start trying to play games with me. And there was no games, right? MSRP was the purchase price, $5,000 for the black Trident wheels. You know, whatever way you want to slice that, add in the black lug nuts, add in the black locking lug kit, add in mounting and balancing for 4 tires all the way around, right? That is a great value to me. Therefore, I felt very confident that I was getting the best deal for me for an on-lot Corvette 2022 with every option that I want except for the paint, which I can live with, and my wait is over. So I've pulled my $1,000 deposit from the other dealership. I'm waiting on that refund, and I'm driving around in a 2022 Corvette right now today. So it was very interesting. You know, I could flip this car immediately. I know I can. So I'll tell you right now, with my sales tax in my county, you know, the document fees, all that nonsense, we went from $93,320 to $98,320, and then with all the documents as tax and etc., my bill was like 106 and some change. Okay, I know right now today, if I really just said, hey, I want to get rid of this car, I think I could get $10,000 more than I paid for it. I think that I could sell this car with 700 miles on it, or whatever it is, 762 miles, with all the options that are on this car that are now on constraint lists. I know I can get $116,000 for it, right? So I'm not a flipper. The thought has crossed my mind, but after I pulled my deposit, I just said, hey, I'm really enjoying this red one. It's for me. So anyway, hey, that's all I want to say about that. As always, thanks for watching.